Hey, Vin.
Hey, IJ.
Welcome back.
We're back.
We're back. Let's cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, merch. Merch. That's right. We have merch.
Yeah.
Shout out to your sister-in-law for getting this as an awesome present.
Yeah. Becky got me this for Christmas. Well, you guys were planning this, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. She actually messaged me being like, I'm a stranger, I know, but hear me out. But yeah, she was really nice and sweet about it. And so I was just like, yeah, merch for me too. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but it was lovely. It was lovely. It was awesome.
It's good.
But I would like to just firstly say congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Because you just tied the knot recently.
Yeah.
And yeah, congratulations. We're back and hopefully back for more consistent podcasts, I guess.
Yeah, we are.
That's awesome. Before so I guess we'll play our intro. Yes. So we're back. What did you get up to during your break?
So we got married and then we went to Terrigal for a week and then we came back home and we just were just spending the time settling in and moving stuff from her old place to our new home and just spent time with family down south and just
getting to know the new in-laws.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Quality family time.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been fun.
Yeah, well, that's heaps good to hear.
Yeah. How's your Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah, it was good. It's good. The year was actually. I was saying before we were talking about how our breaks were. I mentioned to you that this was the first time in my entire life that I did nothing for New Year's, because every year I'm always with family or friends at some sort of gathering and celebrating, counting down, literally, because the restrictions tighten around, COVID restrictions tighten around New Year's even more so. I like my plans with meeting up friends got cancelled, and so it was just me, my roommate, my two brothers, really, and we just played games until it was like 11:55. We're like, hey, it's almost New Year's. We should wake up our parents and tell them and count down. And so when it came time, we counted down. We said, Happy New Year. And we literally went to sleep. It was the most...
I can't see anything wrong with that. Like, what was... But every year, we, without fail, have been spending... We spent New Year's Eve at someone's place every year.
Yeah,
and that's always been fun. So this year's been a little bit different.
Yeah, it's like we're taking a break. This was a break year, but hopefully next year would be a bit better, where we can celebrate with more friends and family. But
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah. And also, before I start, I just want to set a disclaimer, just for listeners and viewers, just to let you guys know that the purpose of the podcast is to just share our feelings and reflections. We're not gonna, obviously we won't mention names. If we do mention scenarios, we always keep it ambiguous, and we want to focus in on the experiences and how we're feeling, and that's it. And that's just the nature of relationships and hardships and people. And so hopefully, and we always make sure if we do mention names, so we always get our guest permission or whoever is involved's permission in regards to before we post, and we always have a debrief and talk about. So just rest assured, this is a space that carefully thinks about what we post online, but also reassure our viewers that it's a space where we want to cultivate good, healthy conversation without it costing us talking about individuals in negative light, and that's not what we're about either. So yeah, but I guess as we move on with our normal progression of an episode, we have a guest.
We do have a guest.
And I would like to welcome our guest, TK. Can you pause? Yeah, come in. Yeah.
Hey,
So-
TK.
We're a bit rusty. Yes. Welcome to our show, Deluxe Corner.
What's doing, boys? What's going on?
I just saw you looking at the mirror and preparing yourself to come on the screen.
Man, you don't have to expose me. Just keep a shush.
I'm
Keep
not.
a shush,
I'm
shush.
just trying to.
Speaking some of my business and grooming for the camera. And that, you know.
Well, it looks pretty good.
Oh, thank you, Vin.
Yeah, well
Much
groomed.
appreciated.
How often do you shave?
Shave.
How often do you like
Oh, grooming.
to maintain that?
I brush it every night, every day.
Right.
And I got beard oil, so I put it on my hand, rub it together, and then put it on my face.
Oh, nice.
Massage, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You got a routine for that.
I do have a routine. I do.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yes. It is awesome. But yeah. What's been going on with you boys, huh? What's obviously Vin, you know, you're married and that.
Yeah.
You know, how long you been married for? Two months, was it?
Almost 2 months now.
Almost 2 months. How's the married life treating you?
Yeah. All right. A bit. Sometimes a little bit rocky, but we're both getting used to living with someone because we've lived on our own for a long time, the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of like waking up in the morning and go, oh, she's here.
Right.
At least it's not
So
a
I'm still
total
getting
stranger.
used to that.
At least it's not a total stranger. Someone that
Yeah.
you know, you're like, Very nice. What you been up to other than New Year's and that? Anything interesting in that?
Nothing much. I think just for time with family and stuff like that. Haven't really
Beautiful.
been doing too much. But let me ask you this question: what's the good word?
What is the good? Well, if you're watching, the good word is the gospel. All right, the Bible. Actually, no. Well, Vin Dang, this is something that me and Vin Dang always talk about. Every time we see each other, we were like, "What's the good word, lad?" Vin, what does it mean? Still don't know what it means to this day.
You don't know what it means, and you ask me the same thing every time you see me.
Yeah, so like, what's the good word, lad? And then like you know.
So what would you say when I ask you what the good word is?
Oh no, like the word of the day, you know, like Sesame Street's got the word of the day in that, you know, but
The letter of today is the letter C.
Or the word of today is, you know, something, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, actually, I just don't know the origin. That's the only thing that I still don't know to this day is the origin.
Let's get down to this. What is the origin? Vin? Where did you get that phrase from?
Well, I think it's a saying, isn't it? What the good word is. But it was actually I heard it on The Simpsons. You know the Australian episode
Oh.
where
Yeah, I
Bart
remember that.
calls an Australian number and then he racks up a huge bill and by accident,
Yeah.
and then the people on the other line call him back and go, "Oh, you owe us this much because you've made us call you back, and now we have a huge bill, so we want you to reimburse us for it." And then they take it up to like the higher courts and involve all the high level people.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just one of those scenes where they like intensely mock Australia, and the guy runs down to the creek and he calls out for the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And apparently our Prime Ministers hang out on
Like,
just
On
lay
a
around
lake, on a
lake in
inflatable
shorts.
donut.
and he just goes, "Oi, Mr. Prime Minister."
Apparently, we're British because their Australian accents were pretty bad.
apparently.
Yeah, and then they were just like, well, the guy was like, "Oi, mate, what's the good word?"
So that's where it comes
That's
from, huh?
a Simpsons reference has now become.
Finally know where it comes from. Simpsons,
Yeah.
huh? I thought it was somewhere else.
It's a saying.
It's a saying.
It's just where I heard it.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, when you MC church, TK, that's how you
Oh,
open.
yeah, I did MC for church, and I got a really bad response. A minister
Never
come up to
again.
me, he was like, "Hey, never do that again." I'm like, "Sorry, boss, my bad."
Simpsons reference in church.
Yep.
Beautiful.
TK.
Yeah, mate.
So it's a great privilege to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
We would love to get to know you. So tell us about yourself. Like you go to church with us. How did we meet?
How do we meet? So, not really a long story, but you were my first youth group leader at church, way back then when I was a young fella.
Wow.
So you were my first youth group leader. I think you were on my first SIG camp. No, first youth group leader. And then from then on, like we'll see each other here and there at church. I'll visit on and off. And then afterwards, it was like I started to come consistently at church, and then we ended up, talking, and then being in the same Bible study group, hanging out, getting to know each other more, and then you get married. I was at your wedding as well, and and that's how we know each other. That's how we met, I think.
Yeah, nice.
I think that's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize you went to another church back then when you were at summer youth camp.
I went to my parents' church. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Parents' church.
So how did you find out about our camp?
Back when I was young, what I did was on a Friday night. Obviously, most kids will go youth group and stuff like that because I went to a Christian school, and so I put a status out on Facebook saying, "Oh, whose youth group should I go to?" On a Friday night, and then one of my classmates, who happens to have the first same and last name as me, surprisingly, he messaged and he commented saying, "Oh, come on, it's in Fairfield." I was like, "Okay, Fairfield's close. Let's have a gaze, go down,
I
suss it
remember.
out."
Yeah.
And then I went down, and then boom. From then on, I just kept coming every week.
Yeah. Right. That's cool.
That's right.
Yeah. And you go to the same high school as some of the other guys at church as well, don't you?
That's right. This man over here.
Yeah.
We went to the same high school.
Yes.
But,
Regent's Park.
That's right. Shout out to that school. I'm joking. There. Shout out like that.
Shout out to hopefully you recover from Corona.
It's okay.
It's okay. You made it out alive.
We made it. We graduated. That's what matters.
And surprisingly, we're still Christians.
We're still Christians and we graduated.
Praise God.
So
Praise God.
yeah.
So that school kind of works.
Ajay was in year 12 when I was in year 7. When I was coming into year 7.
I
So
do.
that's the age gap.
I just remember when the new year 7th came when I was in year 12. And I think I do distinctly remember you were like this chubby little kid. It was really fair and pale.
I was
And I just remember that because, that's all I remember of you. But then, obviously, we didn't meet until I started going to what was then called Life Church, which is now St. Barnabas. But that's where I met you. But we went to the same high school. But our paths probably crossed without even knowing.
Surprisingly, but the only person I remember from high school or from your year group, other than after meeting you guys and realizing you guys all went, was An. I just remember his laugh. So if you watch this, An, I still remember your laugh from when I was year 7. That's how I still remember you. I'm like, it's an unrecognizable laugh, man.
Very distinctive laugh.
Yes.
Almost SpongeBob like. Considering he like watches that.
He's a grown man. He's like 30 years old and he still loves SpongeBob.
He still loves SpongeBob.
Hey, what are you saying about 30 years old and watching cartoons?
No, I'm not saying he's a lovable man. If you're watching this, brother, I love you.
Yes. So you say you come to church with us. Let us ask you, how you became a Christian? And I want to find out a bit more of your story
How
behind
I
that.
became a Christian. Well, all of us have a different story on how we became Christians and how we came to know Christ. I grew up in a Christian family. I went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school at the time every single week and stuff like that. So I sort of had an understanding of the Bible at a young age. But my understanding of the Bible, of what Christianity was when I was younger, was more about, you have to do good works in order to get to heaven. That's what it meant to be Christian when I was young. That's what I thought it meant to be Christian. It wasn't until in high school, you had to do good works, but it's more about you had to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that to become a Christian, and I would say I made that decision when I was in year 8.
Wow.
So I was a young fella. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, cry like a little girl, but it's all good.
Oh, that's sweet that you know, that conviction and that realization and that revelation of who Jesus is to you,
Mm.
brought you to tears. That's a beautiful thing.
Mm.
Mm.
I knew he was.
We haven't done this in a while.
It's been a while since the boys have done it, so
Yeah,
a little bit rusty, just a bit.
Yeah, so came to the faith at an early age, and you've stuck around at our church for a while now, which is good to see. I mean, you went to youth group as well, and I mean, to see you grow, and now you're involved in many ministries in church, and you also are one of the well-known guys in church.
It's been really encouraging to see your growth from seeing
cheers,
you
my
from
bro.
when you were like, I think you just finished being a youth and transitioned to being an adult, and that's when I met you. So, but all these years, you've just been showing up, and it's been encouraging to see you stick around and still kind of do church and life with us, even though there's always temptation everywhere else and to go somewhere else. But it's been really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still surprised I was stuck around for that long. Yeah, with regards to like youth and all that stuff, done it for a long time. I think about 7 years or so. Like straight after high school, went straight into being a leader. So
That's
it's
huge, man.
It's been a very, I would say, a good learning process from when you first start as a youth group leader to when you finish, and just to see your own growth and change.
Yeah.
And how you lead the young kids and stuff like that.
That's the amount of time it takes from like almost like year 7 to year 12. So you've been
basically, yeah.
through like seeing juniors to seniors.
Yeah,
so
like
that's a long time.
It's like as if they're your own kids. You see them grow, not just physically but like spiritually as well. For the ones who are consistent and strong in their faith, to see them consistently come to youth group week in, week out, to see them grow each and every single week, ask the questions, it makes, I wouldn't say our jobs easier, but then at the same time, it helps us facilitate the discussions a bit better. So like we don't have to think of the questions and stuff like that, so we can just bounce off the questions they ask, and then from there on it just comes a conversation instead of like a study. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So what keeps you busy during the week?
Because we've been in the week. Other than sleep and eating, I got 2 jobs. So one of them I work for the National Rugby League as an assistant development officer. So basically, what that job encompasses is basically I go into schools, basically teach kids how to play rugby league, run programs for them, try to get them engaged and involved with rugby league, and at the same time tell them about our after school programs or our holiday programs that are coming up. Trying to just get them involved in rugby league. Obviously, it's a sport that I love when I grew up playing as well. Just trying to get them to fall in love with what you fall in love with as well. So that's one of the jobs. Other one is I work as a strength and conditioning coach at the King's School in North Parramatta. So basically that job is just gym supervision, looking after the gym, making sure it's clean, making sure the kids don't do anything stupid, correct their form, help them out if they ask questions, and
Yeah, nice. So, all right. So you seem pretty busy with your work, and what else did you get up to over the holiday seasons? So Christmas, New Year's.
Other than catching up on sleep and eating and gymming as well, I went on a youth camp called Summer Youth Camp.
Yeah.
That UIC United in Christ runs. So shout out to that youth group there. It's my home. I'm representing your shirt as well.
I see.
But so they run it, and I was fortunate and lucky enough to be a leader on that camp. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, similar to youth group, and that's probably one of the highlights I did during my break.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've done that for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done it for. Oh, that's a good question. How long I've done it for? Probably roughly either similar to youth group, but if you're gonna count how long I've been going since I was youth, then it's a lot longer.
Yeah. Okay.
So how long have you been serving as a leader?
I would say probably 67, similar to youth group years.
Wow.
I'll say yeah.
Yep.
So I've had
Longer
my
than
fun.
me now.
Yes, oh jeez, I've had my fun. You know, it's not just fun, but at the same time, seeing, having a love for what us leaders have to go through in regards to the preparation for the kids. Like what the kids see is all they see is just fun and games. At the same time, Bible teaching, but they don't realize the preparation involved.
Yeah.
Unless they decide to be leaders themselves, and
Yeah.
they get to see the appreciation how much effort is put into SIG camp. So
Mhm.
the director, shout out to you guys. You know, you guys put in the work.
MVPs, real MVPs.
You know, but SIG isn't just about running games for the kids and stuff like that. That's part of it. You know, it's all fun and games. But the main important part is having the opportunity to tell kids about Jesus, even telling kids about the gospel who've never heard it,
Yeah.
and just to facilitate questions and discussions and just talking about, getting to know kids and just building strong, solid relationships with them as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so it looks like it's been going pretty well because the church has been the youth group, the summer youth camp kids have been turning up to church, and it's been really nice seeing them there and having a big group of people with like new faces and
definitely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Fresh
it's been- Yeah. So what keeps you going back to summer youth camp every year?
Good question. Other than the fun and games and obviously the downtime us leaders get to have together, like I said before, just the opportunity to tell kids about who Jesus is and telling them the gospel is what keeps me coming back. Building a relationship with the kids as well is what keeps me coming back. Just having fun with them, just being a kid again. Even though we're most of us are in our mid-20s and older, we're trying to keep up with these kids and we can't. And
Yeah, so it continues on even after the camp, doesn't it?
continuing on even after camp as well. So for the ones who do decide to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior, or who are interested, there's also a continued process with that. So like mentoring or discipling is what some people will call it nowadays.
Yeah.
Just continuing on so instead of just stopping at SIG, you just continue on for the whole year or for however long it lasts.
So sick is like just the beginning, and you're preparing for the whole year ahead, where you've established relationships with the kids, and you want to help guide them throughout the year on this foundation of you've spent a week with them away and teaching them about Jesus, and then does that allow them to now go to youth group, and how do you guys
like
help?
pathways and avenues?
Yeah.
So I do agree with that. It's more of a process of seeing where they're at, if they have any questions, like following up with them and stuff like that, meeting up with them, and just inviting them to youth group. So I would say if they're from SIG, invite them to youth group first so they get settled in, because they'll see familiar faces and they'll get comfortable. And then once they finish youth group after year 12, they invite them to come church, because it's obviously a little bit older. But just invite them to youth group and starting from there. And then if they're willing, meet up with them, catch up with them, and just talking about, more about what the Bible says, more about who this bloke Jesus is, what Christianity is all about. So it's more about trying to answer their questions, but at the same time, we don't know all the questions or their answers to their questions. So the more questions they have, the better. But at the end of the day, it's their own decision whether they choose to accept or not.
Yeah, true. So speaking of discipleship, I guess, what are some good parts and what are the hard parts about it? So what are the let's start with the hard parts. What are the hard parts?
Hard parts. Well, there's a lot of hard parts. I would say, like, with the hard parts, it's more about whether they're committed or not. Because sometimes when you, like, I'm pretty sure all of us here, we've all met up with someone or another, done discipleship, or we met up with someone. We try to encourage them, with their faith, or if they're a new young Christian, we try to encourage and build them up. But sometimes you can do it for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then all of a sudden they just don't know what part of it, and it's like what happened, like what did I say something wrong, or
right,
or is it like, do you find it boring, or is it like you get what I mean? At the end, and then at the same time, it's like it almost sometimes drains you as well.
Yeah.
It's like you put in all this time and effort to meet up with this individual, but then sometimes and you tell them, what the Bible says, and you tell them, what, or the hard truths, but then sometimes they won't listen. And I think for me personally, it's more if they don't listen, then what more can I do to tell you what you're doing is wrong? I can't hold your hand from Monday to Friday, or Monday to Thursday, making sure you do the right things, and then when you rock up to youth group, you do the good things to come youth group and church as well. Like we all have our own lives at the end of the day. So if I tell you something out of truth, and it hurts, but then at the same time, truth hurts. So for me, it's more about whether they listen or accept it or not, and then in commitment as well.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I think I agree with you too. When I've had times where I've discipled people who are younger Christians or youth in the past, I think I can that really resonates with me. In that the hard part is the part where you have to exercise patience, especially when they compromise on their beliefs, even though you've invested time and energy speaking the truths and the biblical principles to them, and they agree. And then when temptation comes around, or when they have to put what they claim to believe into action, they do the opposite. And when you find out, and when you confront them and have those conversations, it is discouraging and draining to face those things. Well, I guess in this aspect of the hard part, how have you coped through those draining moments, or what helpful ways have you found to navigate through that?
Personally, prayer helps as well, but at the same time, it's like if you're meeting up the person, individual, whoever you're meeting up with, and you spend all your time and energy into trying to meeting up with them and trying to help them grow, but at the same time, you feel like a broken record.
Yeah.
It's just repetitive cycle of you saying the same thing over and over again. And at the end of the day, it's going to be their decision whether they choose to accept or hear it. And it's on them to act on it. I mean, we can't, hold, we can't hold their hand, like I said before, throughout the whole week and tell them, you can't do this, you got to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They have to take the initiative with the decisions that they make and do. So if they don't want to do it, or if they don't choose to listen, then okay, that's on them.
Yeah. So having that kind of perspective of it's no longer necessarily our responsibility for you to then, move forward in certain decisions. It's yours. So praying about that and surrendering it to God is helpful.
Because at the end, because then it comes to a point where you can only do so much as the leader or the mentor, the person, or the person who's in charge of discipling this individual. Because then you're just gonna wear yourself out, and then it just becomes this repetitive cycle.
Yes.
If you keep telling this person, or you confront them, or you meet up and be like, look, blah 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 blah, but then at the same time, it's like, why am I repeating myself when you've already heard it before?
Yeah, and it's not taking root.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely hear the frustrations with sometimes feeling like you're saying the same thing over and over. Yeah, but I guess it's also sometimes a big reminder to ourselves that we're actually out there to share the gospel, and so when we do, that's the Spirit working in us and working through those that we're discipling with.
Yeah, definitely. It is got to do with a lot of us relying on God and relying on the Holy Spirit to guide and navigate through it. For me, it's been like a curve of learning how to emotionally separate myself, because you do, emotionally invest in these relationships, and you do go through the highs with them and also the lows, and sometimes as someone who mentors or disciples, you have to take a step back and remember God in the bigger picture, I guess, in tackling such things, or to move past and or to practice patience. We have to remember God is ultimately in control, and when God says yes, God says yes. When God says no, God says no. So it's all part of his plan, so we should trust in that.
It's very humbling in a sense that we're actually not in control of anything.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah,
We're just a mere tool that God uses to, you know what I mean? Like, we can do so much, but then at the end of the day, you know, it's up to the individual to make the decision.
yeah,
And God works through miraculous and different ways. So he can work in their heart to change their heart in time, you know?
Yeah.
All we can do is just pray and to encourage, but then, it's at the end, it's in God's hands.
Yeah, pray, turn back to God, and leave it at that. Yeah. So we spoke about, you know, the hard parts. What are some of the good parts about?
Good stuff.
Yeah. What are the good parts of discipleship?
I also saying consistency. If we're talking about like from a youth group level, just to see them rocking up each and every single week is what I find encouraging. Consistency, spiritual growth. So when we ask them a question and they answer in a deep level, at the same time they thought out the answer, and to show that sort of spiritual growth, as well as maturity as well. You know, you can have a kid who starts off as a brat, and then all of a sudden, within the space of a few months, you're like, oh my gosh, this kid's like he's mature. Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to see that spiritual growth and maturity and consistency is something that I love to see, or I have seen that within some of the guys I have led. I had the opportunity to lead, to see that consistency, because obviously those. Or like on a Friday night, any of those boys or any of those kids can choose to do something, or not choose to not be a youth group. They can go to a party or hang out or do something. But these guys are choosing week in, week out to come youth group. Yeah. Like, even when we told them to make it a priority, some of them goes through one ear out the other, but for the few of them,
the
sticks
remnants,
with them. Yeah, it sticks with them. We're like, oh my gosh, like I think you have some potential in you.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah, it's really encouraging. And I think as well, like, our generation doesn't necessarily understand the temptations that this generation, like, I feel like the more I talk to younger people and youth, you know, about social media and stuff, like, the culture is vastly different from when I grew up.
100%. It's like, completely different.
Like Snapchat and all those things. There's a lot of avenues into...
What's it, TikToks nowadays, huh?
Yeah,
TikToks.
TikToks. There's just a lot of things that younger people get up to that when I thought about it, I was like, oh, I was playing on my DS or I was playing on my Game Boy when
I was playing outside, bro. What is this?
They were going to house parties that they found out on, I don't know, but like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of, they act like all adults, and it's just like, it's so different.
It's because of this thing here. It changes the situation. Back in my days,
just have TikTok?
Me?
Yeah.
No, that was me. That was
this guy, you know?
I was. It was quarantine. I was bored.
I use it for entertainment, you know. Some funny stuff I did, but
yeah, true.
Yeah, I feel like lots of the stuff that you can, it's our form of media these days. Everything you learn is off social media. Like, that's the first thing where you go for your source of information.
But it's easier to access because like everyone's got a phone nowadays. Even like kids in like year 6 nowadays have phone. I'm like, bro, year 6 I had nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, year 6, like, for my phone was to go outside and look at, you know, the sky. That's it. My wallpaper.
That was entertainment.
That was my wallpaper, you know. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, but social media and all that's changing. But then it's easier to access the stuff just through social media nowadays in our phones. Yeah, that's how kids learn nowadays.
Yeah, so it's a very different way of, I guess, living as a teenager from when we were, and it's a big difference. And that's one of another kind of thing that we're learning when we disciple younger people, younger Christians, is the difference in upbringing.
We've got to try to be hip with the young kids nowadays, you know. Just talk like them, talk like this, talk like that, you know what I mean?
Like for some reason British rap is a thing now.
Aussie drill, man. All these kids in there, Aussie drill.
That's what it's called.
You
I have
know?
no idea.
What's it called?
Aussie drill. No, not the drill.
Well-
this is not that drill. It's a form of music.
It's a form of
okay.
it's a form of rapping. Like they're Australian people that rap like British people, is what I gather. That's what young people.
That's what I think. I could be wrong, but we could be wrong. But if you think you know what's right, write in the comment section what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
please educate us,
We're pretty old.
30-year-olds. You might as well be 30.
I'm close to 30. I look like I'm 40. So
No. You still got it. You're still young. You still got it.
technically, my body is 50.
Asian don't raisin. Remember, Asian don't raisin.
That's true.
It's been a long time since I've done anything youth group related, but from what I've been hearing, it's been going pretty well. And I mean, like, one of the good things that I've been hearing is when the youth have, like, they start making life decisions because of how their faith has changed them. And so, like, just the way that they talk and just the way that they act around people, it's a lot different from how they would normally talk and act. And so, this is just what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
And so that's another big positive. Seeing
Yeah. It's a
how
miracle.
I think that plays
Literally.
testament to what I think what we talked about before sick camp and what we run as a church. Like, majority of the leaders who do serve on sick have become Christian whilst they were youth at sick as well. So
okay.
not only
Yep.
like from what I said and why I keep coming back, but for them at the same time, it's like I think I'm using a sentimental sort of value to them. You know, like it means like this is the camp that I became Christian on now, and I want to come with this camp to tell these kids this is the same camp I became Christian on. Maybe you guys should have a think about who this boy Jesus is. But
Definitely.
But no, the youth group is going very well. It's in good hands. Good hands.
So you spend your time during the week working and also with youth group and discipling high school kids. So how do you find the time to do all that during the week?
Well, I'll correct you with what you said. Formerly youth group.
Formally. Okay.
Formally. I've
So is
decided
this
to...
an official statement?
No,
that you're
people
giving?
know. Like, if you're watching this, you should already know.
Yes.
It's more of a retirement.
So you are old.
Yeah, I'm old. No, it's more a bit of
No.
a retirement. I'm doing another ministry, Kids Church. So shout out to Kids Church. So yeah, I've done it for a while, but it's my time now to do something else and let these young kids come up and lead the new generation of kids. And now it's my turn to lead another generation of kids. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, and your question was, how do I?
Yeah, how do you find time
find
during the
time?
week? Or
Yeah.
how do you plan your week? So ministry, I know it's a big part of your week and like work also.
Well, other
fits in some way.
than work, depending on how many days I'm on and what programs we got to run and stuff like that, it's singleness, being single. I'm single,
Hey.
if you want to hit me up,
Fist bump.
fist bump,
Fist bump, yeah,
why don't you comment, this, that. But
Every
yeah,
time he's single, ready to mingle. For Christians only.
but yeah,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah.
All jokes aside.
All jokes aside, but yeah, being single allows me to have the time to during the week, if there is space, just to slot in a meetup, whether it be with a youth or even just one of the church guys who haven't caught up in a while. Just catch up with them, hang out, chat, talk, do life together. And yeah, and being single it's a blessing. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Bible says it's good to be single. Allows you to focus on ministry as well. But at the same time, Bible says being married is a blessing too. So
They have both avenues to serve God differently.
exactly, yeah. Like before, me and IJ, like we're single now. Maybe because God is like saying, you know what, I'm gonna save you. Maybe now you're single, but maybe later on find you a wife or something like that. But yeah, at the moment, just being single allows me the time to do the stuff that I do now.
Yeah.
being a fellow single man and knowing what it's like, yes, it does grant all of those good things. But at the same time, we're only human, and we do feel the heaviness and the loneliness that comes with it at times. We live in a society that really, puts romantic relationship at the forefront of media and everything, and that's what makes the world go around, apparently. And so and also being in a Christian bubble, we also see a lot of people getting married, and generally young. Like I don't think I have much friends that got married in their 30s. A lot of my 30s. A lot of my friends get married like mid to late 20s or even younger. And so for me, I also feel that loneliness, and I also feel that kind of social pressure. I guess in regards to that, do you feel those waves of loneliness? And if so, like, how do you navigate through those with God?
Like, I think you touched on the part with, like, I think social, like, pressure and stuff like that. We're all Asian here, so like, obviously when we have family games go, and like grandma and aunties be like, you got a girlfriend yet, this and that. I'm like, nah, shut up.
The well-meaning questions, but
even your parents be questioning, like, when you gonna get a girlfriend? I'm like, relax,
Yeah, it's like if I could, I would.
No, it's like I'm not like
you think I'm waiting, like I'm doing this on purpose.
100%. Like I didn't choose to be single. I just happened to be. So there's nothing wrong with it. I think there's a difference between a want and a need. So like I want to be in a relationship, which is not a bad thing, like God created us to be relational beings. So like that yearn for wanting to be in a relationship is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a healthy thing.
It's a healthy thing. Yeah,
it's a healthy, godly thing.
So I feel like it's not like I need it. Like you need water to survive, but do you need a relationship to survive? You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, like you touched on before, you said, how does it affect me? Like at times it hurts because like I want that, but then there are some positives where I can use this time to either catch up with someone or hang out, just use the time more for ministry. But at the same time, it is hard. There were some times where I was like, man, everyone's getting married left, right, and centre. I'm like, bro, I'm
especially in quarantine, everyone's getting engaged.
I'm like, bro, but I'm happy for you. I love you. You guys are my mates. And like, my family. So I love you. But at the same time, I was like, man, I want that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but.
And I think it's okay to feel sad about it. And, some people grieve over it. There's some people who have a really heavy sense of grief when they're in singleness. And, it's okay, and you can process that, but as long as that grief doesn't lead you away from God but leads you toward God, then I think that's a good thing as well.
100%. And I think that like the married couples at our church, I think they do a great job with including the singles in like just events and stuff like that. So if you're from our church and you're married, shout out to you. You know who you are. They just love the single guys and include them as well. Obviously when you hang out together in a big group, or keep your lovey-dovey stuff at home and stuff like that. So it doesn't
actually. I feel like our church member couples, they do that well. Like I don't see much of them all be lovey-dovey during church service or during dinner. They're like they act like friends the way we act like friends with them. So I really appreciate that.
Like our church does well. We just care for the guys who are single at our church. But also like they include us in like events and stuff like that, but not making it weird, you know what I mean? Even if you hang out together in a group and there's a couple married couples there and you're like the only one or two single guys or girls there, it doesn't feel awkward. It just feels like just a bunch of mates going out, hanging out, having a good time. So that's what I feel. So shout out to the married couples at church for loving the single guys. Not just our church, but even our church as well.
For me, when I go through those pits of when I feel the loneliness happen, I do a similar thing where I recognize that these longings, like wanting to be in a relationship for marriage and to have kids, is a healthy longing and a good longing from God, and it's a biblical thing. So it's good to have those longings, and it's not bad. But I always pray into those emotions and say like, God, these are healthy emotions are from you, but I can't handle it. I can't handle this feeling. And so, I pray and I lament and I let God know. And for me, I just find doing that helps realign my perspective back on the bigger picture of God's will and plan, and to trust in that plan, however it may look. So if this means that I'm single for now, or further along, I can trust that it's a good plan that God has, and He loves me, and whatever He wills for me is for my good as well, as for His glory as well. So I trust in that biblical perspective, and I cling on to that in those times. And obviously I then call a friend. I call Ben, and I cried on the phone. I cry on the phone, like, man, this is hard. And he prays for me, and I find that support helpful as well. So
a question to you, Vin. Like, obviously you're off the market now. You're married. What for you were the biggest struggles for when you were a single man like us? You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm interviewing you.
I'm asking you a question,
Hey,
bro. I'm asking you a question.
Yeah. Sorry. What is your
the
question?
new co-host of the show. But no, it's just a general question.
Yeah.
Yeah. To you.
Yeah. What was your question?
So obviously, like, you're married now, but like back when you were single, what were some of did you face like similar to what me and IJ were facing, or like were you like, what, I'm content with what God has for me? If He blesses me with a wife, then so be it. Or were you just like, man,
what was your journey in it toward marriage?
I think it's definitely been times when it's been hard, and seeing my friends and everyone around me going to get married and all that, and but I think what I held on tightly was being reminded that whatever season in life that I'm in, that it's just like what you said, God's got a plan for me, and so I think I've just been reminded that whatever season in life I'm in, to use it wisely, because that's the blessing that God's given to me.
But during that journey, I was always really encouraged by how much of a man of integrity and a man of God that you were, because you never compromised. Like, you never went down that road of like, oh, maybe a non-Christian, because it'd be easier to kind of go in that direction because things seem to be easier to and there's not as much pickiness and this and that, because sometimes Christian women are a bit picky, just like how we're picky as well. But it's harder, and it's easier to compromise. But it was just really encouraging to see you stay so strong in your faith and not compromise. But yet, even when things didn't work out previously with things, you still stay close to God. You still went to church. It didn't bring you away. And so it was just really encouraging then, to see. I was there when you kind of messaged me and talked about your now wife Rachel, and how things all fell into place. Like it was out of nowhere kind of thing. It was just like, I met this person, that's what and it was just like, oh, cool. And it was just encouraging to see that just to see that progression on, and it was all a part of God's plan. And so to see God's plan the way it panned out in yours, and it was for your good, and things turned out better than we could have expected, kind of thing. So it's just
because there was a period in time where obviously when you were still single before you met your current wife Rachel, I was like, man, Vinding's such a mighty man of God, man. I was like, how's this bloke still single? And like now, boom, you're married. Also, another bloke at church who we know was single for a long time. Now he's getting married later on. We know what we're talking about. We won't say his name, but shout out to you if you're watching. He was, man, we all sat around saying to each other, man, this guy's such a man of God, man. He's godly, he's caring, he's loving, this and that. And how's he still single? And then boom, all of a sudden he's married, getting married. I'm whoa,
you don't know. Maybe next week, TK.
Guys, I'm getting married next week.
No, jokes. Yeah, but I guess I wanted to also ask, what's your experience during this singleness? And I guess, I feel like you're, in a place where you're you're probably more ready because you finish studying, you're working and stuff like that, and you're in a position to be putting yourself out there to look for that kind of relationship. How have you found do you feel like there's much opportunity or no opportunity? What's your current experience in where you are and those kind of things? Is there any opportunity or is there not? What is it?
Interesting. Good question. I'm open for opportunities that arrive, but at the same time, it's like it's hard because I'm in between. Like, oh man, I wouldn't mind, but at the same time, I'm sort of content. I'm like smack bang in the middle. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no,
like,
I get you.
it's
I
like,
feel you, brother.
Like I would want a relationship. Well, it'd be nice, it'd be great, but then at the same time, like, I don't mind being single for now, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm smack bang in the middle, like I'm like either or, So it's like that's how for me. But to keep my mind busy, it's like work keeps my mind busy.
Gym
Woo, keeps
shout out
me,
to the gym.
Iron therapy,
Iron therapy. That's exactly it, man.
If
That's how we release our emotions.
Someone, fellas, if someone break your heart, you just get the iron to almost kill you, like that, and then beautiful.
Lol, that's the whole reason why I started working out a long time ago. A girl broke my heart, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna get bumped.
Just get jacked.
And I get bumped. And later on, eventually, that girl got interested in me because I got bumped. And I was like, no, no. Anyway, that was a long time ago.
But yeah, keeping myself busy with gym. Not trying to think about it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, like if it does become hard and obviously you struggle with it, I think it'll be good to speak up and talk to some of the men at church and be like, hey, look, or even just talk to someone that you trust at church, or preferably a guy. You know what I mean? And be like, look, brother, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? How can what are some ways to help me keep my mind occupied, or can you pray for me,
burdens,
or just do life together at the same time. Find someone that you are close with or you can trust, and just confide in them,
and then you can feel supported, and that generally leads lessens the loneliness when you are able to bounce around different friends about different burdens and what you're going through. For me, I've had experience where right now I feel like I'm in a place where I've worked on myself. I've gone sought out professional help, and I've sorted out my issues, and I still am. But I feel like for the last 2 years I've really grown in my faith, and as a Christian, and also as an individual as well, like just grown in all aspects, and I feel like I'm ready. And so I came to a stage where I was like, I'm ready to put myself out there. So I did the one thing that I feel like it's controversial in the Christian circle. Like a lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions, and that's like dating apps and dating online. Sometimes dating apps have a bad rap, especially in today's society with the whole hookup culture, and that's where it spawns, and that's what it's all about. But at the same time, on the other side of the spectrum, I've heard a lot of stories where solid Christians go on there and meet other solid Christians and actually get married. And I have a cousin that met her Christian husband on Tinder, and they got married. Like, you know what I mean? Like on Tinder as well. And I was just like, oh, but
going, but all good. So.
Yeah, but it worked out, and they're married, and they have a kid, and they're both Christian. So it's just like, but anyway, so I heard those things, and there's other Christian dating apps as well where people are more Christian minded and hearted. So they actually meet other Christians that have the same morals and values. And for me, I put myself out there. I tried one app that gave you the option of putting all your religious preferences on there. So Christian settings on, and I also went on one that was like a Christian centered app, and I put myself out there, and I found my experience different from others, because I kind of saw myself. I didn't like how I was starting to turn out, in that it was becoming a thing where I was like looking through it all the time, and it was starting to consume me, and that's when I started to think, maybe I shouldn't be on here. Even though I met some Christian girls, and I went on a date with one of them, but still, I just felt like, it was hard because they weren't in the same season faith, like the season of life and season of faith. Like they were still, their view of Christian marriage was very different from my view of Christian marriage. And so things wouldn't pan out and work out. And I felt like it was impossible to meet someone on these apps that had that, same heart for Jesus, that wanted to serve Jesus wholeheartedly, or they were just, let's say they were younger in their faith and they weren't seeing marriage as that, but more of a different thing from what I was thinking. Because for me, marriage, a Christian marriage is just another avenue to glorify God together, and that's what I want it to be. Like, I want to lead Bible study and have a wife that co-lead, or we do youth group or some sort of ministry together in and outside of church. But I felt like a lot of the people that I was talking to don't necessarily have that vision, and so I was just feeling like on any app, it seemed to be that kind of same response. So I ended up getting all off it because I was like, and I prayed about it. I was like, God, in the end, if it is your will for me to find someone, I trust that you will make it happen. I'm not saying that, God's a genie and he'll grant my wish, but if it is his will, I don't feel like I need to invest all this time chasing something when, if it is his will, I feel like it will naturally fall into place without me having to kind of get consumed and chase it. And if you think about it, if I were to chase something that wasn't God's will, then I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'd rather, there's more of a chance of me, doing what I need to be doing, clearly following what God has set in front of me. And for me right now, it's just like certain ministries, and I want to do, take discipleship seriously and invest a lot more time in my male friends and speaking about topics with my male friends I'm passionate about, like men's mental health and all that stuff. And so, I just feel like I'm going to put my energy there rather than putting my energy maybe in right now. It's not God's timing or it's not God's will. So I'm going to trust in God's will and do the things that he's set in front of me. So.
So on top of that, like you said, you tried online dating, but then you're like, nah, it's not for me. It's laters. Like, what are your thoughts on visiting in another church?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So we had a
question. I still feel like I don't like that because I feel like we had the same sentiment. But for me, I had that feeling of like I felt seedy. I feel seedy of that idea because I'm just like I'm going to that church to be like, hey, you go, girl, ladies.
Like gaze him like,
I'm single. Like I just feel, I just feel like I feel that way, and I just feel like I don't feel comfortable doing that. How about you? Did you feel alright with that or no?
Similar to you, like if I was to just visit a random church and just have a suss out, and, then you got to think about what am I there for? Am I there for the right reasons, the attention behind it?
Yeah.
But if your church mate was like, hey, let's go visit my friend's church, blah blah blah,
Okay.
like then that's a different story. I'm like, okay, so you invited me to go visit your friend's church, which one I know you. For example, let's say you invite me to your friend's church, and I know you, so I feel comfortable, and I come along. Then okay, I'll be more comfortable to go because I feel comfortable. You know what I mean? It's like you're just there just to see the church or see how it is, and just chat, even just to meet your people. But I think if you were just to go by yourself, for me, I would just be like, at the same time, what's your intention? But then, like, if someone invites you, I think for me, it's a different story. So I'm like, okay, I'll be more inclined if someone will invite me to their church, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I know you.
I feel like I'd be more open-minded to that kind of way of meeting people and putting myself out there because it seems more natural and less like I'm here to find a wife. Like, but then I've heard stories where people had that intention and then they ended up finding their wife, and now it's just like, okay, like I can't point that out either, but it worked for them and that's what they wanted. And
some people will work out.
It worked. Like God, worked with that kind of went in that direction. But for me, I'm just like, no, like. For me, I don't mind being set up because the reason, like before I was a bit iffy with that, but if a Christian friend set me up, the only reason why I would say yes is because, this person is a mutual friend, meaning that they're in, that kind of church circle. And if they're in my church circle of friends, their church circle of friends, they're more likely to be Christians that are in that season where they're ready and have that kind of same view as Christian marriage that I kind of envision.
I think. Oh, sorry, Vin. I think it makes it easier because then if like you said, if you were to be set up with someone that like you would trust, your mate to set you up well. For example, if Vin was to set me up, like I trust Vin, he's a good bloke.
Yeah, exactly.
But then at the same time, if he's setting up with someone from his friend's church, then they know that other person, but then Vin knows them. So it's more like, okay, so there's two people here, but then there's a lot of people in between who know both sides, and then overlap. Sorry.
Yes,
And
yes.
then
You have
you're
mutual
like,
friends.
So you mutual friends.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, so do you know this person? They're like, oh yeah, I've met blah 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 blah. What about this person? And you start talking about it.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was, so it's a good thing because there's kind of like a sense of commonality between you and them because you're in the same circle, and so like there's a lot less risk of there being a hit and miss kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the risk is still there, but like, that you both come from the same or similar circles and your beliefs are the same, and like the stuff that you guys believe in, like.
Yeah. It's more like, because I found it on dating apps. They would say they're Christian, and when I chatted to them and got to know them, I was just like, oh, you don't, I guess, practice, or you don't, shape Jesus, let Jesus shape your life the way I do. Like it's different. So because it's just different. But I guess like you were saying, people in the same circle of friends more likely to have a higher strike rate of it, matching in that way. I think that was great chats, guys.
That was cracker chat. That was a banger. We can go all night.
I know.
What are you talking about? No, it's still young.
True.
What other avenues, TK? Visiting churches, dating apps.
Oh, no way.
I think we've touched on
everything,
on most of them.
Yeah.
But I think that was a good time. That was a good time for me. I really enjoyed getting to know our TK and also hearing his point of view on these points and topics. And say thank you and a round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks,
well
TK.
done. Thank you, TK. It was a pleasure having you.
Cheers,
And,
boys.
and hopefully in the future we can have you again sometime.
It'll be a pleasure to be back on. Hopefully your fans enjoyed me. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe, share.
Or
Shout
follow
out to
us on
you.
Spotify as well.
Yep. Shout out to 10 fans who are watching.
Give us a
Thank
thumbs
you.
up, Mum and Rach.
Yeah. My mum and my dad sometimes, if he feels like it. Thanks. But this is IJ signing off.
Vin signing off.
I'm TK.
Good night.